Now, back to Smart Living with Victoria Babu on the Big 550 KTRS and KTRS.com.
Welcome back to the program, everyone. And I'd like to welcome back a familiar voice, a familiar face. If you've been watching him on Channel 5 regularly, as well as on Channel 11 with the doctors, that's where I tend to see him because it fits my schedule. Welcome back, Charles D'Angelo, who's written the book Think and Grow Thin. I think I've got that memorized. Charles, welcome.
How are you doing, Victoria?
I am fine. And we've got exciting news because you are trained. A couple of things we wanted to share with everyone that's so exciting. First, we're going to introduce our guest in just a moment, but Angela Bassett, the actress, has been jetting into St. Louis to train with Charles. So do tell, my dear.
Well, not train. Remember, I do weight loss coaching.
That's
so,
true.
yes,
That's
I've
true.
had the pleasure of helping her, amongst many others. Of course, you know, Senator Claire McCaskill is in her maintenance phase. And Angela has been kind enough to endorse my book and my work, as well as Tony Robbins, Claire, of course, Richard Simmons, amongst many others. But most notably, we have Joanne here today, who's 76 years old and has lost over 50 pounds in a very short period of time, proving it's always possible no matter what stage of life you're in.
Right. So here we are. She's approaching 76. I'm telling you, looking at her, wow, I was stunned because you look terrific, Joanne. So
thank you very much.
And thank you for joining me here on the program. I think Charles brings up a good point about age. I think that, maybe even talking to your contemporaries, do you think a lot of folks just give up at a certain point?
I think they give up usually after menopause.
Good point.
It's a time when you tend to gain weight. But as you age, things start going wrong. The things that were wrong with your mother and your father are now showing up on you.
Yes.
And my blood pressure was very, very high. And for about 5 years, I've been fighting that, taking many, many drugs, all types of combinations. But what occurred was the drug that could help me caused my legs to swell. And then they began to itch. And it was extremely uncomfortable. And I thought, enough is enough. I have to do something about this because you can't stop the aging process, but you can feel better.
What changed you at this point in your life? Because, you go through the midlife, the changes you mentioned in terms of menopause for women, and we can blame everything on thyroid and hormones and what have you. You're past that point. So why at 75, 6, whatever, late 70s, mid to late 70s, did this go, ding, time to make a change? Because A, you don't look your age. B, now that you've lost weight, you really don't look your age. So what was it? What was this moment? Why now?
Well, I think it was really the side effects of the medications.
That really was a turning point.
That did it for me.
Were you immobile? I mean, what was it doing? Would you just...
No, but by the end of the day, my legs would be so swollen that I was plopped on the couch for the evening.
That was it.
And then the itching part was very, very uncomfortable.
Sure.
And I thought, do I want to live the rest of my life like this?
Right.
Or am I going to make the change? So I had been trying to lose weight, as we all do. But
were you heavy your whole adult life? I mean, tell us a little bit about your health.
No, it was really after menopause where I started to pick up. But I always watched my weight and I watched what I ate. But it seemed like that point in my life I didn't. I thought, I've raised the kids. What the hell?
Right.
Eat what I want, enjoy myself. But that catches up with you.
Because then you found yourself with diabetes issues. And
it
taking
was the hypertension.
Hypertension, which is so common. Glad you brought that up, Joanne. So common in women. Because what's the number one killer of women?
That's right. Heart disease.
Heart disease. Heart attacks.
That's
problems.
right.
You're right.
And it's very easy to think, well, I'm 70. This is the way it is. I have to put up with it. That is a wrong way of thinking.
Right. So you go see Charles, and when how is he different than other programs you've tried? Because you said
totally.
You tried it.
Totally
because
different.
he will say, and he said it on our station with McGraw in the morning many times, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a fitness trainer. He's got a psychology degree. He talks about between the ears, because wouldn't you say that's quite a large part of that is how you think?
Definitely.
How you approached it?
And I approached it where I was not on a diet, and I think people should think about that. Once you announce that you're on a diet, everybody is giving you all the attention. They're watching what you do.
Yes.
Well, I'm not on a diet.
Right.
I am on a program. And I am on a program for smarter eating, healthier eating, and a better life.
And
the
wonderful.
food that Charles recommends that I eat or helps me along the way, however you want to term it, is real food.
Right.
I am not opening up a package and dumping it in a bowl to microwave it. I am not weighing it. I'm not scooping it out. I am going to the grocery store, buying my own food, preparing it myself. And I just said to Charles, of course, seafood is on it for dinner.
Sure.
I have chicken, steak I can have twice a week, and one night of a refuel night of pasta. Now, how can I call that a diet?
Right.
It is just, now, of course, I have to, watch what I eat with it.
Right.
But it is just a real way of living, a real way of eating.
Did you like the accountability of going in to see him every, I don't know if it was every week, every once a
2
month?
weeks I go in. And, of course, I think that's a major part of it.
Yeah, I think there is too.
Because Charles, the first thing he says to me when I come in is, "How are you?"
Uh-huh. Yes.
And so I know that he cares about me.
I'm glad you went there. How deep did you go with the thought process? Because opposite of Charles, as a certified personal trainer, because I had a passion for fitness, doing triathlons in my 40s. I was a late bloomer. And then starting helping people, I thought, man, I should have gotten a psychiatry or psychology degree. He did that first. He did it the right way, because it is about the mindset and people layers and layers. I was dealing with the skin and the muscles, but really it went deeper than that. It went to emotion. Did you get to any raw stuff with him about, what was maybe keeping you to saying it was comforting? Because you said at some point when in your menopausal years, you said, let's just go with it. Because it was probably easier.
Well, as I said, when I go in and Charles says, "How are you?"
Yeah.
I know he doesn't say, are you doing okay on the diet? Did you fall off? He wants to know how I am as a person. So I know that he cares, and yes, that matters.
Yes, it does. Doctors don't always do this because, rarely, because unless they're really good friends of yours, because they don't study nutrition. That's a big deal. And they don't have the time that Charles says that's his whole job is to spend focusing on you. It's kind of nice, isn't it?
It is. And, I've made some mistakes. And I admit them to Charles.
Yeah.
I could easily call in and say, "I'm not coming in today. I'm not feeling well," because I don't want to tell him the truth that I went off and I gained.
Well, I know that I can attest to some of his clients that have, I'm not going to say names, but because I don't want to out them, and he knows who they are, that have done that. Who are you only hurting?
Myself.
Of course. Thank you. That's exactly true.
So he calmly will say to me, "Okay, what did you do?" And so I tell him what I did, and he puts me back on track.
Right. Because that's very normal. And thank you, Joanne. It was a wonderful story. At 76 years old now, are you off the medications? That's one thing I want to know.
Well, I'm not totally off
Right.
because I don't think I'll ever be totally off.
Right.
But I have reduced them to the point where I don't have any side effects.
Right. That's phenomenal.
And my blood pressure is normal.
Well, speaking of doctors, what do they say now?
Well, actually, I'm going in 2 weeks from now. But when I started on this program, my doctor reduced my meds. And it has stayed like that. And he said that if I lose more weight and my blood pressure continues to go down, he will reduce them again, and I'm expecting that next week.
Phenomenal. Joanne, a client of Charles D'Angelo, and with his wonderful program that he has. Congratulations. You look great.
Great story.
And we'll have her before and after pictures on my website as well. But Charles, echoing what she said, I mean, you're shaking your head to so many of the things she was saying. What is it you really want listeners to know from Joanne's story?
I think that people need to hear that success comes from making small, simple changes, not some huge change overnight, but small, simple, consistent changes hour after hour, day after day, week after week. And oftentimes people say, well, I failed so many times. Failure doesn't come overnight. It's not like it robs you in the night. Failure comes from making small, bad choices consistently.
That added up.
That add up.
So it goes the other way. You do the good
Absolutely.
choices.
So you can either have what I call a defeat whirlpool or a success vortex that pulls you up. So what you want to get into doing is making the right simple changes, as Joanne illustrated, consistently. If you can adopt the right philosophy, and that's what my approach is all about. You mentioned I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor. My whole work is spent on helping people get the right attitude and the right philosophy about themselves first and foremost, letting go of their past, letting go of that story they have that says, this is why I'm overweight. It's because of my age, or it's because of my history, or it's because of my genetics, or it's because of my family. Do all those things have some truth to them? Absolutely. But will those empower you with the ability to change is the question.
Sure.
So ask yourself, what do I need to think about? What do I need to change? Who do I need to talk to? What book do I need to read? Who do I need to call so I can make the types of changes that this woman I just heard has made? And if my book, Think and Grow Thin, can be a valuable resource, which it has to thousands of people, please pick it up. Or go to the website and you can see other people like Joanne, charlesdangelo.com, who have totally transformed their lives by getting into the right mindset, having the right philosophy and attitude about themselves and about their habits with food and exercise.
Well said. And lastly, Angela Bassett, how'd she find you? So if you're not physically training with her, what is she needing from you?
Well, I keep kind of a cone of silence because these clients that I work with, I try not unless they come out and talk about it publicly. But anybody that seeks my help is looking for exactly what we're talking about. That is, they have oftentimes, like Joanne, have tried all these diets, but they're looking how to integrate the right philosophy or the right mindset so that eating right and exercise becomes as basic to them as hygiene. So it's just what they do. It's just like Joanne talked about. She doesn't think about food in the same way anymore. She doesn't think about exercise in the same way. So many people dread it. They think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go to a gym where all these people are going to scrutinize me and I'm not going to fit in. When in reality, people that are at a gym are there to improve themselves. Everybody's trying to bring themselves to a better place in life. And the same can be said if you want to work out at home. If you're first and foremost afraid of going to the gym, then do like Joanne did. She has a treadmill at the house and does it there. So you can set up a system for yourself that propels you forward like Joanne, where you're, no matter if you're in your 70s, 60s, 50s, no matter if you have 100, 200, 300 pounds to lose or 20 pounds to lose, if you will make the right choices consistently, hour after hour, day after day, and they're not huge. They're just little distinctions. You will be amazed at the remarkable changes, being able to eliminate medications, being able to have the body of your dreams, being able to recharge your relationship, not only with yourself, but with those that are significant around you, having the confidence to go after the things that you've longed for. Just think how much better your life can be. And one thing I'll finish with is people oftentimes underestimate the value of time. You know, we don't think about that until someone gets sick around us or until we're giving some bad health news. And then all of a sudden we start to think about our mortality. Why not capitalize on the time and the gift of life God has given you by making the right choices, by being able to contribute, by being able to make the difference that you're capable of making with the gifts God's given you? You know, putting it off, procrastinating, I'll get to it next week, I'll get to it a month from now. You don't know what's going to happen between now and then. But what we do know is we have the present. So start to make the decisions today.
That's Charles D'Angelo said so well, because you don't want to be like me where I get an autoimmune disease. But thank God I embrace fitness along the way.
Well, let's look at that for a second.
Yeah.
The autoimmune disease you have not let that defeat you.
No,
By no means.
I'm an anomaly.
You have used that.
Yeah.
You've said, you know what? Doctor, I appreciate your diagnosis, but I am not going to accept your verdict. And you continue to work out and you continue to exercise and you continue to eat right. And that's the same for everything. Your mindset. How many people do you know that have been diagnosed with a terminal illness, but 10, 15, 20, 30 years later are still here today? Control what you're allowing into your mind, and you'll be amazed at what happens in your life. Don't accept these limitations and negative beliefs that you hear all around you. Control what you're allowing into your mind and control what you're allowing into your body.
So well said. And that's my mantra, right? That is Victoria's life, that last part right there. So I'm not watching any more videos that shows people with my disease not doing well.
Yes, they're laid up. Dr. Google is the worst thing that you could go to. Don't go to Google. You type in, I have a headache, and it says you have brain tumors and cancer.
I know.
Don't go that.
Bravo.
Look at what you have. Look at the gifts you have. And remember, you're within God's grace if you're trying to make a positive difference in the world, and you are protected if you're willing to do what you can, and do what you can to the best of your ability, and everything will work out for you.
Charles, I love having you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, and thank you, Joanne.
You can thank, and Joanne, we now know why Joanne has done so well, too, but it took a lot on your own. We have to give credit to the client.
Yeah, she's done really, really well.
Thanks to Joanne. Thanks to Charles. Again, charlesdangelo.com.